Prepare yourself, because what is happening inside the Philadelphia training facility right now is rewriting everything we thought we knew about the National Football League, and the rest of the league should be terrified. For months, whispers have circulated through the halls of the NovaCare complex. People inside the building have been trying to keep quiet, desperately hoping to keep a lid on a reality that is becoming far too loud to ignore. The defensive unit terrorizing the practice fields isn't just good. They are not merely on track to meet expectations. What is taking shape in the heat of the summer is a nightmare scenario for every single offensive coordinator tasked with facing them this upcoming season. We are witnessing the assembly of what could very well be the single greatest defensive masterpiece of Vic Fangio's legendary career. Think about that for a second. Read that back and let it settle in. This is the same mastermind who has baffled elite quarterbacks for decades, turning struggling rosters into brick walls. This is the defensive genius who orchestrated the unit that completely handcuffed Patrick Mahomes on the grandest stage of them all, reducing a generational superstar to a state of total confusion and leaving one of the greatest offensive minds in football history entirely without answers. This is the man who engineered a top-5 scoring defense just a year ago. And yet, walking the practice turf right now, observing the sheer speed, violence, and cohesion of this group, insiders are whispering a terrifying truth. This unit makes those previous squads look ordinary by comparison. Every single level of this defense is playing with an aggressive, suffocating swagger. Quarterbacks drop back to pass and find themselves staring down a closing wall of defenders before they can even finish their drop. The running game, usually the heartbeat and identity of the offense, has repeatedly hit a brick wall, smothered before the handoff can even fully develop. Turnovers aren't just happening by accident. They're being manufactured through pure disruption and instinct. And the scariest part, they are achieving this level of total dominance even while missing key pieces, waiting in the wings to return. But before we break down how this defensive front is forcing opposing coaches to completely throw out their game plans, let's ask a crucial question. Who is truly to blame when an elite offense is completely dismantled down to the studs in training camp? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. To truly understand why opposing offenses are completely breaking down in practice, you have to start right in the trenches, where absolute chaos is being manufactured on every single snap. Take a look across the interior defensive line. It is difficult to find a trio anywhere else in football that commands this much respect. Morrow, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter are moving with a terrifying blend of raw power and explosive quickness. They are so dominant, so completely unblockable, that coaching conversations have seriously revolved around deploying unique five-man fronts just to get all of them onto the field at the exact same time. Think about the ripple effect of that kind of interior pressure. When the middle of the line collapses instantly, it frees up defensive chess pieces to roam the field completely uninhibited. It allows versatile playmakers like Cooper DeJean to slide seamlessly back to safety, creating a secondary field of vision that suffocates passing lanes before they even open up. Meanwhile, the edge rushers are treating every practice rep like a regular season fourth-quarter showdown. Even with the absence of a major piece like Jonathan Gard due to a pectoral injury, the rotation hasn't skipped a beat. Jalen Hunt is having the kind of camp that turns heads across the entire league. Playing with a relentless motor that suggests a breakout year is entirely inevitable. Nolan Smith, A.J., Epeneza, and Arnold Ebiketie are collapsing pockets with ruthless efficiency. And then you look at the second level. Zach Bond, bringing his first team all-pro instincts to the middle, is hunting the ball with terrifying precision, diagnosing the run, dropping into coverage, and blowing up screens before they can get off the ground. Flanked by emerging talents like Jihad Campbell, Smile Mondin, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr., the linebacker room isn't just deep. It is an absolute swarm of green and white. Even the secondary, supposedly the biggest question mark heading into the summer, has turned into an absolute fortress. The cornerback trio of Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Reek Woolen, who has turned heads since arriving in free agency, is locking down receivers so tightly that windows simply cease to exist. Add in the stellar work of Andrew Mukuba, Marcus Epps, and the positional versatility of Michael Carter II, and you have a secondary that doesn't just defend passes. They erase entire halves of the playbook. While the defense is feasting and creating a masterclass in disruption, the offensive side of the ball has been forced to endure a fiery crucible of growing pains. Should anyone really be surprised? When you completely tear down an offensive scheme and introduce a brand new playbook rooted in the complex, modern concepts of the Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay coaching trees, there's going to be friction. This is not the familiar system of the past. This is an entirely different world of pre-snap motion, intricate post-snap reads, vastly different blocking techniques, and a completely reinvented rushing attack. Coupled with a rebuilt wide receiver room and a brand new play caller at the helm, the offense has had to walk straight into the teeth of one of the most ferocious defenses in football every single day. It is tough sledding. It is exhausting. But beneath the frustration of training camp struggles lies a hidden blessing. When you spend your entire summer battling a defense that is actively suffocating every single thing you try to do, walking onto the field against regular opponents during the regular season is going to feel like a breath of fresh air. The speed of the game slows down. The windows open up. The pressure feels manageable because nothing an opponent throws at them on a Sunday will match the absolute storm they faced every single day in practice. And amidst the growing pains, the individual flashes on offense have been nothing short of electric. Watch the way the offense's leader is handling the transition, and a clear picture begins to emerge of a player unlocking an entirely new level to his game. Jalen Hurts has taken monumental strides through the heat of the summer. For years, critics loved to whisper tired narratives about what he could or could not do on a football field. They claimed he couldn't operate comfortably from under center. They claimed the middle of the field was a blind spot, that his vision was restricted strictly to the outer boundaries. This camp has shattered those narratives into a million pieces. Hour after hour, day after day, he has stepped up under center, firing crisp, decisive strikes over the middle, targeting the hashes, and zipping footballs cleanly in between the numbers. The ball placement is sharp. The rhythm is natural. It is becoming increasingly obvious that any previous limitations were never about the player's physical capabilities. They were a byproduct of scheme constraints and play-calling philosophy. Of course, you never want to strip away a player's greatest superpowers. When a quarterback possesses one of the most dangerous deep balls in the entire sport, the ability to loft a feather-soft touch pass down the boundary and let a playmaker go climb the ladder, you let him use it. But by adding this devastating interior passing game to his arsenal, by forcing opposing defenses to respect every single blade of grass from sideline to sideline and from the line of scrimmage to the deepest safety, the entire calculus of the offense changes. Defenses can no longer cheat. They can no longer sit comfortably outside the numbers. They have to respect the entire field, and when you force a defense to cover everything, they ultimately cover nothing. Beyond the quarterback position, the front office and coaching staff are facing some wonderfully difficult decisions, particularly in a wide receiver room overflowing with talent. The mainstays are locked in. Devonta Smith, Malik Nabers, Tavian Wicks, and Hollywood Brown command respect wherever they line up. But the battle further down the depth chart has turned into an absolute war. Johnny Wilson and Elijah Moore are fighting tooth and nail, but the talk of the entire camp is Darius Cooper. Cooper has quietly and forcefully etched his name into stone, stringing together back-to-back dominant camps and pre-seasons to establish himself as arguably the most dangerous weapon in the receiver room. With the roster likely only keeping 6 wideouts, the final cuts are going to leave good football players looking for a home elsewhere, a luxury that every championship-caliber franchise dreams of having. And the foresight doesn't stop at the skill positions. Look at the offensive line, where the future is already being carefully and brilliantly engineered. Lane Johnson stepped up recently and acknowledged the reality that faces all great players. The horizon is approaching, and this season will likely be his last on the gridiron. But instead of scrambling when that day arrives, The organization is doing what great franchises always do, preparing years in advance. Just as they smoothly transition away from legendary pillars by drafting elite talent before the old guard hung up their cleats, they have found their next mountain of a man in rookie standout Markeel Bell. Praised by veterans for his relentless work ethic, his refusal to complain, and his staggering physical tools, Bell is being groomed under the direct mentorship of Lane Johnson himself. From Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter stepping in as Fletcher Cox approached the finish line, to the seamless transition at center, to locking down the secondary with elite youth, the assembly line of talent in this organization is operating at a terrifying level of efficiency. As the summer heat beats down on the practice fields and the preseason games loom large on the horizon, the final pieces of the puzzle are clicking into place. Around the league, the power dynamics are shifting. Fresh off a championship run in Seattle, with contenders rising across the map, the landscape is wide open. Yet, when analysts look at the true heavyweights entering the new campaign, the conversation invariably circles back to Philadelphia. The defense is primed to shock the football world, built on a foundation of suffocating pressure, veteran leadership, and relentless youth. The offense, having survived the brutal iron-sharpening iron trials of training camp within their own facility, is preparing to unleash a multifaceted attack that leaves defensive coordinators helpless. The pieces are set, the tension in the air is palpable, and when the curtain finally goes up on the new season, the rest of the NFL is going to find out very quickly just how dangerous a fully operational, battle-tested monster truly looks when it takes the field.